Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bold and Beautiful. Today, is Bill Spencer's million and Grace gone with the wind? This week, Grace Buckingham will have to explain herself on the CBS soap opera. We will learn about Liam's surgery soon if it wasn't on the up and down. Will Liam Spencer's dubious physician flee in the interim? See the spoilers below to see what will happen on Bold and Beautiful next week. After spending an hour with Dr. Grace Buckingham in a makeshift operating room, Steffy Forrester's condition was magically cured, but Dr. John Finnegan refused to believe it. Finn and Bridget look for solutions. Finn and Bridget Forrester believed that Liam had little to no chance of recovering from the illness and that his tumor was incurable. Thus, it is clear that they have inquiries. According to B&B spoilers, Grace might flee if she feels pressured. It's unclear if Grace staged Liam's amazing recovery in order to defraud Bill Spencer. Another possibility is that Grace simply persuaded Liam to take advantage of his family's wealth even though he was never ill. Under fire, Grace. If convicted, Grace Buckingham might lose everything, including her medical license. This week on Bold and Beautiful, Finn and Bridget aren't backing down, and there are rumors that Grace might disappear without a trace, which would further heighten the suspicions. Shouldn't she be excited to tell her coworkers about her groundbreaking new cancer treatment rather than keeping it a secret? In your opinion, what did Grace do in the operating room? Did she defraud Bill Spencer and Liam? Is she going to run away? Dr. Grace Buckingham's enigmatic, shadow-draped miracle, plunging the Spencer-Forrester universe into a maelstrom of suspicion where the intoxicating scent of medical triumph is rapidly souring into the acrid stench of potential fraud, forcing the audience and characters alike to confront the agonizing, high-stakes question burning at the core of next week's Bold and the Beautiful. Is Grace Buckingham, the woman who ostensibly plucked Liam Spencer from the jaws of an inoperable, terminal fate? Within the confines of a shockingly makeshift operating room, about to vanish like smoke on the Santa Monica wind, absconding with the chilling possibility that she fleeced the formidable Bill Spencer out of a fortune built on desperation and a father's love, leaving behind not a legacy of healing, but a trail of shattered lives, ethical debris, and the terrifying specter of a cure that was nothing more than a meticulously staged, grotesquely expensive illusion? The meticulously constructed narrative of Liam's salvation, initially a beacon of hope illuminating the show's often turbulent waters, now flickers precariously, threatened by the relentless, scientifically grounded skepticism of Dr. John Finnegan, a man whose Hippocratic oath compels him to reject the fairy tale simplicity of a terminal tumor dissolving after a mere hour under Grace's hands in a setting woefully inadequate for such neurosurgical heroics, and the deeply concerned, ethically bound Bridget Forrester, whose own medical expertise screams that the odds they understood, the grim prognosis that had settled over Liam like a shroud, slim to none, simply cannot be overturned with such baffling, undocumented ease, propelling this unlikely investigative duo into a determined pursuit of truth that feels less like professional curiosity and more like an urgent excavation into a potentially gaping chasm of deceit. This week, Grace Buckingham stands poised on a precipice, the intense, unyielding pressure emanating from Finn and Bridget's probing questions tightening like a vice around her previously assured demeanor, whispers swirling through the corridors of power and the rumor mills alike that her next move might not be to proudly present her revolutionary findings to the global medical community she ostensibly serves, but rather to execute a desperate, vanishing act, a sudden, unexplained disappearance that wouldn't merely raise eyebrows but would detonate a bomb of confirmation under the already towering suspicions, transforming quiet doubts into deafening accusations. For why would the discoverer of a miraculous cancer cure, a breakthrough poised to save millions and etch her name in history, choose flight over the glory and validation such a discovery would inevitably bring, unless the cure itself was a phantom and her true motivation was the cold, hard currency of Bill Spencer's $1 million payout? The potential fallout is catastrophic on a deeply personal and professional scale. Exposure means the irrevocable shredding of her medical license, the annihilation of her career, disgrace echoing through the halls of medicine, and likely incarceration, a complete obliteration of the life she's built, consequences so severe they make the act of fleeing, however damning it appears, a terrifyingly plausible escape route for a cornered individual. The haunting possibilities fueling this impending crisis are as labyrinthine as they are devastating. Was it all a scam from inception? Did Grace, exploiting Liam's vulnerability and Bill's boundless resources and paternal ferocity, orchestrate an elaborate fiction, perhaps manipulating scans or symptoms, convincing a healthy Liam he harbored a death sentence solely to position herself as the only hope, the sole purveyor of a risky, experimental, and entirely fictitious procedure funded by Bill's desperate millions, a con artist masquerading in a healer's coat? Or, perhaps more insidiously, was Liam complicit? Could this be a twisted, mutually beneficial deception where Liam, driven by motives yet unclear, perhaps a desire to shock his life into change, secure sympathy, or manipulate relationships, colluded with Grace to fabricate the illness, making Bill the unwitting financier of their charade, the $1 million a payoff for their collusion and pain? Alternatively, is there a sliver of terrifying, renegade truth? Did Grace actually perform something in that room, something unorthodox, undocumented, perhaps dangerous and illegal, a maverick technique or untested substance she cannot reveal without facing censure, or worse, a genuine but ethically monstrous act that cured Liam but cannot withstand the scrutiny of legitimate medical inquiry, forcing her silence and potential flight? Each scenario paints Grace not as a savior, but as a figure of profound ambiguity and threat. Finn and Bridget's dogged investigation next week is not merely procedural, it's the scalpel poised to dissect Grace's entire narrative. Will they uncover discrepancies in Liam's medical records? Find evidence of financial transfers linking Grace to Bill's payment? Unearth a past littered with professional misconduct or financial woes that paints a picture of motive? Or will their pursuit trigger Grace's disappearance mid-interrogation, her sudden absence screaming guilt louder than any confession ever could, leaving Bill to grapple with the humiliation of being potentially swindled, Liam to confront the horrifying uncertainty of whether his trauma was real or manufactured, and Steffi, Hope, and the entire family reeling in the aftershock of a betrayal that weaponized their deepest fears? Grace Buckingham, once a harbinger of hope, now stands as the vortex of the storm. Her potential flight isn't just an exit, it's an admission, the definitive answer to the question hanging over Los Angeles like smog. Grace, and Bill Spencer's million, might indeed be gone with the wind, leaving behind only the devastating wreckage of a lie that preyed upon life, death, and the boundless, exploitable love of a father, proving that the most beautiful miracles can sometimes be the most beautifully crafted deceptions. The truth, like Grace herself, is poised to run, and catching it will redefine everything. Liam and Bill are stunned by Sheila's admission, which Steffi calls a hero. Sheila Sharp's admission will shock Liam and Bill Spencer, who will be referred to as heroes by Steffi Forrester. On Thursday's B&B episode, Steffi will invite Kelly Spencer over to the Spencer estate for some additional father-daughter time. When Kelly inquires about Liam's well-being, he will affirm that he is and extol the virtues of the get-well-soon artwork she has created for him. Liam will tell Kelly that he's getting better every day, even if he will admit that he won't be running marathons anytime soon. It will be wonderful news when Liam's nurse confirms that his vitals are in the proper range. Liam will argue that every time Steffi and Kelly visit, he grows better because he truly enjoys receiving visits like this one. Bill will smile and imply that Liam can't get enough of his adorable little girls after Liam adds that it's the same with Hope Logan and Beth Spencer. Since Steffi has been telling Kelly that her father is a hero, Bill will support her by saying that Liam is the most courageous and strong man he has ever met. At that point, Steffi will reveal something that will undoubtedly surprise Liam and Bill. Steffi will acknowledge that she finds it hard to believe she is saying this, but she will also point out that another person is a hero. Steffi will clarify that she is referring to Sheila when a perplexed Liam asks who she is referring to. Steffi will admit that Sheila's behavior has improved recently, even though she will always remember all the terrible things she has done. When it comes to Sheila, Steffi will never fully let her guard down, but she will at least believe that Sheila merits some recognition for facing Luna Nozawa. Steffi cannot disregard Sheila's efforts because she tried everything in her power to keep Steffi alive. Steffi will compliment Sheila and say that she is happy Liam survived all of his medical challenges. Now that he should live a long, healthy life, we'll see Steffi and Liam develop an even closer bond. But when it comes to Liam's brain tumor and the miracle that Bill paid a lot of money for, it appears that Grace Buckingham pulled a scam. Grace's network of falsehoods will eventually come to an end. He will believe that Ridge Forrester needs to be more serious about his desires while he is with Eric Forrester. Given that Brooke might be about to pursue a new future with Nick Marone, time is running out. Eric will offer Ridge another shove in Brooke Logan's direction, even if Ridge is dedicated to Taylor Hayes. Regarding Italy and Nick's true intentions there, Taylor will have some misgivings. Taylor will believe that Nick is using this trip to persuade Brooke to fully commit to her and permanently put Ridge behind her. Steffi Forrester, a portrait of composed elegance yet with lingering shadows beneath her eyes, ushered a bright-eyed Kelly Spencer inside. The purpose was simple, tender, a little more precious daddy-daughter time. Liam Spencer, propped up on a plush sofa that seemed to swallow his still-diminished frame, lit up like the California sun at the sight of his youngest daughter rushing towards him. His recovery was a visible, arduous process. The pallor hadn't fully lifted, the movements were careful, deliberate, a far cry from the energetic father who once chased Kelly through these very halls. Her small face clouded with concern as she perched beside him. "Daddy, are you okay?" she asked, her voice a blend of childish innocence and inherited perceptiveness. Liam's smile, though genuine, held a trace of effort. "Hey, sweet pea, I'm okay. Getting better every single day, promise," he reassured, his voice softer than its usual timbre, drawing her close. His gaze then shifted to the vibrant crayon masterpieces clutched in her small hands, get-well cards exploding with rainbows, smiling suns, and stick-figure families holding hands. "Look at these," he breathed, genuine awe warming his tone as he traced a clumsy, loving finger over a bright yellow sun. "These are going to make me better faster than anything the doctors have, Kelly. They're perfect." He shifted slightly, a wince fleeting across his features before he masked it. "Okay, maybe marathons aren't happening next week," he conceded with a self-deprecating chuckle, meeting Steffi's knowing gaze over Kelly's head, "but honestly, every day I feel a little stronger. A little more like me." As if summoned by the unspoken need for validation, Liam's discreet nurse, hovering near the doorway, offered a professional nod. "His vitals are exactly where we want them, improving steadily. Excellent progress." The relief in the room was palpable, a shared exhalation. Bill Spencer, leaning against the grand fireplace mantel, a silent, watchful pillar of paternal intensity, allowed a rare, unguarded smile to soften his usually stern features. The sight of his son, battered but alive, interacting with his granddaughter, was a balm. Liam, buoyed by the visit, reached for Steffi's hand, his grip conveying volumes beyond words. "Visits like this," he said, his eyes holding hers, "they're the best medicine. Seriously. Every time you and Kelly walk through that door, I swear I can feel the pieces clicking back into place." He added quickly, mindful of the intricate web of co-parenting and past loves that defined their lives, "It's the same with Hope and Beth. Just seeing my girls, it fixes something inside." Bill's deep voice rumbled agreement, his pride in his son evident. "Can't get enough of his precious little girls," he stated, a simple truth that resonated in the quiet room. The moment felt fragile, healing. Steffi, her own complex history with Liam momentarily set aside in the face of his survival, gently squeezed his hand back. "We've been talking a lot, haven't we, Kelly?" she prompted her daughter. Kelly nodded vigorously. "Mommy says you're a hero, Daddy. For saving everybody." Steffi met Liam's gaze, her own filled with a profound gratitude that momentarily stole her breath. "You are, Liam," she affirmed, her voice thick with emotion. "What you did." Words failed her for a second. Bill seized the moment, stepping forward, his chest swelling with paternal pride. "Damn right he is," he declared, his voice resonant, filling the space. "The strongest, bravest man I know. Faced down death itself and walked back. That's a Spencer." He clapped a heavy hand on Liam's shoulder, the gesture both congratulatory and grounding. The air hummed with familial warmth, a shared celebration of survival and paternal love. Then, Steffi took a breath. A deep, visible inhale that seemed to draw the very light from the room. The comfortable atmosphere shifted, grew taut. Her gaze dropped momentarily to her hands, knuckles white where she gripped the edge of the sofa, before lifting again, meeting first Liam's curious, trusting eyes, then Bill's fiercely proud ones. "There's something else," she began, her voice suddenly lower, threaded with an unfamiliar tension that instantly silenced the lingering warmth. A furrow appeared between Liam's brows. "Steph," he prompted gently. Bill's posture stiffened, his protective instincts flaring at the shift in her demeanor. Steffi swallowed, visibly steeling herself. "I can't. I honestly can't believe I'm about to say this," she confessed, the words seeming to catch in her throat. A beat of heavy silence descended, thick enough to choke on. "But," she continued, forcing the words out, "I think. I have to acknowledge, there's someone else who acted like a hero that night." Liam's confusion deepened. "Someone else? Who are you talking about, Steffi?" His voice held only puzzlement, no premonition of the seismic shift about to occur. Bill's eyes narrowed, his gaze sharpening into laser focus, scanning Steffi's face for clues, finding only a stark, unsettling earnestness. Steffi held Liam's gaze, the name dropping from her lips like a shard of ice into the suddenly frigid air, Sheila. The effect was instantaneous, electric, and utterly paralyzing. Liam recoiled as if physically struck, his body jerking back against the cushions, a sharp gasp tearing from him. His face, moments ago softened by paternal affection, drained of all color, leaving behind a mask of stunned disbelief and burgeoning horror. "As Sheila," he stammered, the name a curse, a nightmare made flesh. Across the room, Bill Spencer froze. Utterly, completely. The proud father, the fierce protector, the man who had dedicated years and vast resources to eradicating Sheila Sharp's poison from their lives, stood immobilized. His jaw clenched with such ferocity the muscle stood out like corded steel beneath his skin. His eyes, usually blazing with intensity, went cold and hard as flint, locked onto Steffi with an expression that blended utter incredulity with a rising, volcanic fury. The silence wasn't just absence of sound, it was a vacuum, sucking the oxygen from the room, charged with the aftershock of an unthinkable detonation. Kelly, sensing the sudden, violent shift in the adult atmosphere, instinctively pressed closer to her father, her earlier sunshine dimmed by confusion. Steffi didn't flinch from their reactions, though a visible tremor ran through her. She met their shock head-on, her own expression a complex map of conflict, revulsion warring with a reluctant, terrifying truth. "I know," she said, her voice gaining a desperate strength, cutting through the suffocating silence. "Believe me, Liam, Bill, I know. I will never forget the unspeakable things Sheila has done. The pain, the terror, the lives shattered, it's etched into my bones." Her hand unconsciously drifted towards the scar on her abdomen, a permanent reminder of Sheila's violent intrusion into her life. "I'm not saying she's changed overnight. I'm not saying I trust her. I wouldn't turn my back on her for a second." She took another steadying breath. "But, lately, her behavior has been different. Quieter. Focused. And that night." Steffi's gaze turned inward, revisiting the chaotic, blood-soaked horror of the confrontation. "Luna was out of control, Bill. Feral. Beyond reason. She was coming for me, intent on." She trailed off, the memory still raw. Sheila stepped in. Directly into Luna's path. She didn't hesitate. She put herself between me and that knife-wielding maniac. She fought her. Hard. She did everything she physically could to keep Luna off me, to keep me alive long enough for help to arrive. Steffi's voice dropped, thick with the reluctant admission. She took blows meant for me. She screamed for help. She fought for me. I can't just ignore that. I can't pretend it didn't happen, even if it was Sheila. She looked directly at Liam, her eyes pleading for a sliver of understanding amidst the wreckage of their shared history with the woman she'd just named a hero. "She saved my life, Liam. However twisted her reasons, however much I wish it had been anyone else, she did. And that has to count for something." The room remained frozen in the aftermath of her confession. Liam stared at Steffi, his mind seemingly unable to reconcile the image of Sheila, the architect of so much of his personal hell, with the concept of a savior. The cognitive dissonance was etched onto his pale face. Bill remained a statue of outraged disbelief, his fury a palpable heat radiating across the space. His carefully constructed worldview, where Sheila was pure, irredeemable evil, had just been violently fractured by the testimony of the woman Sheila had once shot. Steffi, visibly drained but resolute, quickly shifted her focus back to Liam, grasping for the familiar ground of his recovery. "And you," she said, her voice softening, infused with genuine relief and affection, "I am just so incredibly grateful you pulled through, Liam. Seeing you here, getting stronger, facing down everything you went through, it's everything." She reached out, touching his arm gently, a gesture of profound connection born from shared trauma and survival. "We've been through hell, both of us. But we're here. And hopefully," her gaze held his, promising a future, "we both get to live long, healthy lives. That changes things, Liam. It deepens things." There was a fragile hope in her eyes, a yearning for a bond reforged stronger in the crucible of near death, momentarily eclipsing the monstrous shadow of her admission. Yet, beneath the surface of Liam's miraculous recovery, a dark undercurrent surged. The miracle Bill had purchased at astronomical cost, the secret, cutting-edge treatment orchestrated by the enigmatic Grace Buckingham, was nothing but an elaborate, cruel con. Grace's web of lies, spun from desperation and greed, was fraying at the edges. The fabricated brain tumor, the staged medical crisis, the exorbitant price tag, it was a house of cards trembling on the precipice of collapse. The truth, when it inevitably erupted, threatened not just financial ruin for Bill, but the shattering of Liam's very understanding of his survival and the profound betrayal lurking beneath his father's desperate act. The bomb Steffi had just detonated with her words about Sheila was merely the first in a chain reaction waiting to happen. Far from the tense Spencer drawing room, another drama simmered. Eric Forrester, the family patriarch, observed his son Ridge with a mix of frustration and paternal concern. Ridge, ostensibly committed to Taylor Hayes, seemed adrift, haunted by the specter of Brooke Logan potentially slipping away for good. Eric, ever the champion of true love, at least, his perception of it, saw time bleeding away. "Ridge," Eric's voice held an uncharacteristic edge, "you need to get serious. Decide what you want. Brooke isn't going to wait forever, especially not with Nick Marone circling like a shark scenting opportunity in Italy." Eric saw Nick's sudden Italian venture not as coincidence, but as a calculated move. "If you let this chance slip through your fingers now, if you let Brooke walk towards that plane and Nick without fighting, you might lose her for good this time. Is that what you want? Truly?" His words were a direct challenge to Ridge's current path, another push back towards the magnetic pull of Brooke, further